Welcome back to another episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I'm your host, Marcus Jones, the Bluff City Cowboy, coming to you live from Memphis, Tennessee. And we are back on a Thursday night to give you guys some more Dallas Cowboys news and notes. I tried to go live last night, but unfortunately, the computer was not cooperating. But I had a lot of stuff that I want to talk about in terms of undrafted free agents. We've been putting that show off for about 3 weeks now with the schedule release as well as the unexpected signing of George Pickens. And then last week I was on vacation. So I've been putting that episode back for almost a month now. So I felt like I had to do the undrafted rookie free agent episode before we get too deep into the offseason and start going into OTAs and training camp. So thank you guys for joining us tonight. I see we got quite a few people watching. So for those of you that are watching, please be sure to share this. Share it to your personal page. Share it to your favorite Facebook group. Let the people know what we're talking about tonight. The topic is undrafted rookie free agents. So we're going to go through all 8 of the undrafted rookie free agents. I'm going to give you my thoughts on what I see based off watching a few of their games. And I have them ranked in terms of least likely to make the 53-man roster up to the most likely. So I'm interested to hear you guys' thoughts. I know you've had a lot of time to digest what we've seen so far from these guys in terms of rookie minicamp and voluntary OTA. So I'm sure a lot of you guys who aren't familiar with the undrafted rookie free agents have gotten some familiarity with them, and you guys will be able to give some input. I see those views are still growing, so thank you guys for tuning in. Once again, if you haven't done so already, I see a few of you guys are watching from Facebook, from the DC4L page. For those of you who are not watching from Facebook, be sure to take a minute, go over to Facebook, typing in DC4L, find that Facebook group. A lot of great dialogue, a lot of great conversation, a safe space for Cowboys fans to talk and ask questions. They're always giving away prizes and contests and things of that nature. So there's always something going on, and there's always a way for you to engage with other Cowboys fans. And I see we have some people watching from YouTube. So those of you watching from Facebook, if you get a chance after the show, please go over to YouTube. I'll put my YouTube link in the comments. So at some point, if you could, please go over to YouTube, find me at Bluff City Cowboys, hit that like button, hit that subscribe button, help me to increase my subscribers. And as always, this is an interactive show. So for those of you who are able, please get in the comments. Let me know where you're watching from. Let me know how long you've been a Cowboy fan. Let me know if you have any questions about the undrafted rookie free agents or anything Dallas Cowboys in general. And I see our X followers are increasing every week. Thank you guys who are watching from X. If you get a chance, go find me at Bluff City Cowboys on YouTube. You guys hit that subscribe button also. And if you would like to participate in the comments, one night, go to Facebook, go to YouTube, watch from there so I can hear you guys' thoughts on any topics that we discuss. And one last thing before we get started, I see the views are still going up, but those likes are not matching. So for those of you who are watching online, be sure to hit that like button. Let's get those likes to match those views. We greatly appreciate it. Any engagement you guys can do will help grow the Fifth Quarter Podcast Nation. All right, so we've got the housekeeping out of the way. Now it is time to get into the meat of the show. Once again, today's topic is undrafted rookie free agents. The Cowboys actually went light with the undrafted rookies this year. Normally, we bring in about 14 to 15 guys. This year, we only brought in 8. So that was one very unusual thing that I noticed from the undrafted rookie class. Another thing that stood out to me is the positions that the undrafted rookies targeted. If you look at the list, all of them are defensive backs, tight ends, or wide receivers. Now, there's a linebacker sprinkled in throughout the list, but defensive backs, wide receivers, tight ends, that makes up the majority of all the undrafted rookie free agents. So I guess if you want to look deeper into that, you could take that as kind of an indication of where they think we need help at, or you could also take it as, for those of you who don't understand how the undrafted rookie free agents work. So basically, the draft is over, and now anybody who isn't drafted, if they are talented enough, NFL teams will approach them to sign as an undrafted free agent. So for the undrafted guys, this is kind of a twofold thing. Number one, it gives you an idea of what teams are interested in you. Maybe they didn't have enough draft picks. Um, as you know, there's a finite number of draft picks that are available, and some teams just simply may not have enough. It also lets you know kind of where a team stands in terms of your talent and that team's needs. So that's kind of the first part from the team's perspective. From the player's perspective, what gives them the advantage to me over a guy that's drafted in the fifth or sixth round, those guys are pretty much stuck to go with whatever team they go to. They're basically still unguaranteed. They get a minor signing bonus, but it's very likely that a guy drafted fifth, sixth, or seventh round won't make it out of training camp. So those guys are pretty much drafted in a situation where they're stuck. The undrafted guys are at an advantage because they have the same limited amount of guarantees as the drafted guys. The only difference is the undrafted guys have a chance to take a step back, look at what teams have drafted, look at what teams have lost from last year, and they can pick the team that they feel like they have the best chance of making the bottom of the roster. So when I look at the undrafted list of guys, I look at this in kind of a twofold way. Number one, the team feels like we have some needs at defensive back, tight end, and wide receiver that there's a gap there that we need to get as much talent as possible. On the other side, for these guys to sign with us, to me, that makes me think they feel like they have a good chance of making this roster because um, a guy like I'll use Zion Childress, for example, the nickelback out of Kentucky. From a height, weight, speed, production, experience perspective, he probably had his choice of teams to sign with. And the fact that he chose Dallas kind of lets you know he feels like he has a good shot of making this roster because when you're an undrafted guy, that's your number one goal. Get your foot in the door. Try not to be listed as a practice squad guy. So this is going to be a lot of very interesting battles between these undrafted guys to make this roster. So like I said before we get started, those views are still going up. Let's make sure those likes match those views. So if you're watching, hit that like button. And also get in the comments. Let me know if you have any questions about any of these guys or about the Cowboys in general. So let's go ahead and jump right into it. We're going to start off with who I feel has the least chance of making the roster. And we're going to go all the way up to who I feel like will definitely make the roster. So going to the bottom of the totem pole, I got to start off with the cornerback, Mike Smith Jr. from Eastern Kentucky. Now, unlike years past, we normally have all of our undrafted guys are guys that are from the Big Five programs. It's usually some height, weight, speed guy that for some reason or another just didn't get drafted. This year we got a couple of guys from some smaller schools, so it was kind of difficult to watch games on a couple of these players. So I just tried to do my best from what I had to figure out what I can see. DJ Dog, longtime follower, thank you for joining us. The Cowboys have definitely had a long history of getting good undrafted free agent guys. You named quite a few right here: Bill Bates, Drew Pearson, Tony Romo, Everson Walls, Terrence Steele, just to name a few. Rico Dowdle was an undrafted guy, I believe. He came in one year, had a good season at running back for us. I believe you go back even further, Patrick Creighton, wide receiver, was an undrafted guy. Of course, you got Miles Sanders. So we have a history of turning undrafted free agents into stars. And I think that's another reason you will see some guys come here because there's always an undrafted guy who makes this roster and they normally um, leave their mark in one way or another. I got another regular, Lee Harrison. Thank you for joining us tonight. And as always, we got my guy Jeff joining us from South Haven. Appreciate you tuning in as well. Thanks, Jeff. Creighton did go in the seventh. Appreciate that. All right, so Mike Smith Jr., Eastern Kentucky. Not a lot of footage out there of him. The only game I could watch from beginning to end, because just to give you guys a little bit of history, I try my best not to come on the show and talk about players based off of highlight clips. Highlight clips mean nothing. They can make a bad player look good. They can make a good player look bad. They can make a good player look great. So I try my best to at least watch 3 full games from beginning to end, focused on that player so that I can get an idea of what he is. Now, unfortunately, there's not a lot of Eastern Kentucky footage readily available, so I just had to make the best of what I can get. So when I look at him, um, he's good covering backs and tight ends. He's more of a safety than a corner, I would say. He does a good job of tracking the ball in the air. Not a lot of turnovers, but he's definitely in position when I watch him play. Has really good vertical speed, so he's a good north and south runner. That's something you really look for when you're looking for a safety guy. He has really good instincts, so you can look at him just watching him play. Um, Another thing I look at for some of you guys who may watch all 22s or you may watch a game. When I look at a defensive guy, I'm looking at the guy who's looking left to right and the guy who's pointing. 9 times out of 10, if you see a guy that's pointing, you're going to be looking at a high intellect guy because they're pointing something out to their teammates. And usually if you see a guy that's looking left to right a lot, more than likely he's talking to guys next to him, giving them an idea of what's going on in the play. So just a tip for you guys who watch all 22s or you watch games, you want to check out a guy, especially on the defensive side of the ball. Unfortunately, when I watch him play, he's not a very willing tackler. And at the Eastern Kentucky level, you would expect him to be a lot more physical than that. I would say he's good enough to stand out at the Eastern Kentucky level, but he is a very long way from being an NFL prospect. I think they brought him in again. We got quite a few safeties that are on the bubble. He's a good height, weight, speed guy. Again, you can see the intellect, you can see the coverage ability, but he's just not there yet as a talent. So I definitely think this will be a guy who will probably, if he's lucky, make the practice squad. And in 2 years, maybe 3 years, he works his way up to special teams and he could possibly be a rotation guy by the end of his rookie deal, year 3, year 4. All right, I see we got a couple other guys joining us. We got Eric, pregame sweat, joining us. Eric, thank you for joining us. We got Donald Ford Jr. Looks like a new name, so thank you for tuning in as well. And then DJ Dog kind of stealing my thunder later in the show. Says the Syracuse guy looks decent for the Cowboys this year. Like I said before, we're going to go through the list, and I'm going to give you from the least likely to the most likely. So as of right now, when I look at all the undrafted guys, Mike Smith is kind of at the bottom of my totem pole as undrafted guys who have a chance to make the roster. So, all right, let's go a little bit further up the list. We got another small school guy. Um, his name is Bruce Harmon out of Stephen F. Austin, a school that I've heard of, but I have no clue where it is. Um, and on this chart, you'll see I normally put the games watched on the left. I could not find any Stephen F. Austin footage of a full game. So all I have to go off of are highlight clips and 2 or 3 minute clips here and there. So the stuff that I have up here is pretty much off of a very limited perspective. But when I look up his pro day, he ran a 4.4. He has a 4.23 short shuttle, so that means he's really good at changing directions. One thing that stands out on tape, he has long arms. I mean, his arms are probably 33 inches, if I had to guess. He's a relatively tall corner, so that's definitely going to help him as well. So, to me, this is another traits guy. Long arms, fast. Uh, he plays with a lot of physicality. He has decent ball skills from the highlights. I didn't see a lot of interceptions, but I did see him tracking the ball when it was in the air and making a play on it. So those are definitely some positives that you want to look at. He's over 200 pounds for a corner, which is always a positive. I mean, you could look at this picture and tell he's pretty jacked for a Division II player. But again, some of the problems. Stephen F. Austin's not a powerhouse, so he doesn't have a lot of experience. Um, Again, good ball skills, but he's playing at a very low level, so the learning curve for him may be difficult. And I see DJ Dog says he has 9 career interceptions in college. I'm not surprised by that because the ball skills definitely show. Again, when I look at a guy like this, I try my best not to look at the stats. I'm a big film guy, so I like to get my perspectives from a guy from film. But 9 career interceptions definitely sounds like a guy who was able to make some big plays. But again, it was at the Stephen F. Austin level, so I don't know how much stock I can put into that. But yeah, I did see the 4.4 speed. He definitely has that. 200 pounds, physical, long arms. Um, he doesn't play to his athleticism on the highlight clips that I saw. He's one of those guys where if you watch him play, receivers are getting behind him a lot. But then you look at the time and it says 4.4, and something's not adding up right there. So to me, it means one of two things. Number one, he's either a better tester than player. Some guys can test well, but it doesn't show on film. The other thing may be he's a slow processor. So even though he has all the athletic traits, his ability to process may be slow to a point where he doesn't let his athleticism really display itself. Either one of those things are an issue for me, especially considering he's playing at the Stephen F. Austin level of football. And I believe he was like second or third team in those conferences. So there's some stuff you can look at as positives, but at the end of the day, he's a count body, like Jeff said. He has good traits. As you guys know, we're kind of thin at corner, so he's gonna get some opportunities in camp because we have 2 or 3 guys who are going to be sitting out with injuries. But I do not expect this kid to make the roster. Now, if we did do a list of guys I think who would be on the practice squad, he would probably be at the top of the list just from the athleticism level. All right, so let's keep it going. And once again, if you guys have any questions about any of these guys, feel free to put them in the comments. I see the views are starting to go up even more from the DC4L group. So thank you guys for joining us. Make sure you hit that like button. So first one was a safety, second was a cornerback. Yeah. Thanks for backing it up, DJ Dog. It's hard to find anything on either of these guys. It's pretty much just highlight clips and whatever stats you can pull up. So next on the list, we go to an SEC guy. We got a couple of tight ends. This one is Rivaldo Fairweather, tight end from Auburn. So when I watch him play, and I got to see quite a few games, one thing that stands out about him, again, I talked about the long arms with the cornerback Bruce Harmon. Rivaldo's arm length is freakishly long. He may have 34-inch arms, but he's only 6'3". So it's kind of weird. He's the type of guy who can scratch his knee standing straight up. His arms are that long. He's a very compact looking player. He's 6'3", he's about 245. So he looks like a kind of a hybrid H-back, fullback, tight end type guy. He's relatively raw. Came from a small school, transferred over to Auburn. You can definitely see it in how he runs routes and how he plays. So just watching the games that I saw, again, the long arms immediately stand out because he does not have a good vertical. When he goes up in the air, his feet are off the ground 2 inches, and his arms are in the air 10 feet. So he has a great catch radius if you can get the ball in the area. Yeah, DJ Dog, you're right. Looks like we got the same notes. But yeah, definitely. Long arms. He is a terrible blocker. I mean, it's almost like he wasn't trying. But I can understand that when you have arms that long and also coming from a lower level and transferring up to the SEC. But terrible blocker. Again, because of the long arms, he's great at contested catches. Again, he's extremely raw as a player. You can tell that he does not have a lot of high level experience, and he's not a good route runner. Definitely stands out. For a tight end his size, you would expect him to be more of a move slot tight end who can get out there and run some decent routes against nickelbacks and safeties. You don't see that at all when you watch him play. He's pretty much release off the line of scrimmage, run to a spot, you throw it up, and you let him use his long arms to catch it. And that shows in his lack of production. Even at the Conference USA level, his best year was only 28 receptions for 400 yards. So when you look at a guy like this, you expect to see a lot more in terms of production. But unfortunately, he leaves a lot to be desired. I just think this was a guy, again, we need a count body. I think our top 2 tight ends are pretty much secured with Schoonmaker and Jake Ferguson. So once we start to get into preseason and training camp, you don't want to wear out your top 2 tight ends a lot. And as of now, Devin Spanford is the only tight end on the roster. So you're going to need at least one more tight end to be able to run routes and play in games. I think this is pretty much what he is. He's just a guy who can get out there and run around so that our top 2 tight ends don't have to play a lot in the preseason. Another traits guy more than likely won't make the team. I don't even see him as a practice squad guy. A great point, though, DJ Dog. Auburn's wide receivers and tight ends did have horrible quarterback play, but even with that, when you just look at him and his 5 years in college, even at Florida Atlantic, he wasn't making a lot of plays if you go by the stats. So you would expect a guy with arms as long as his and the catch radius he has to at least crack 500 yards at some point, but you just don't see it. So, again, this one is a straight camp body. That's about all I can say. All right, we're going through these pretty fast. We're at 26 minutes, and I'm just about halfway through my list. So if you guys have any other questions for me, any questions about the Cowboys, any questions about the drafted guys, let me know. Over the next 6 weeks, we are going to be doing our position updates. So starting next week, we're going to go position by position, and I'm going to give you guys the players who are at the positions. I'm going to give you my thoughts on who the starters are going to be, who the backups are going to be, and who's probably going to get cut. So we got a lot of great content coming up. Make sure you guys continue to stick with us. We're going to be talking a lot more about the undrafted free agents, the drafted, the drafted rookies, and any other guys who may be on the bubble or looking for a breakout this year. All right, let's get back into it. That was number 3 on my list. So now we're going to go to number 4. We're at the halfway point. Now, when I look at this one, I just don't see it. I don't see why we picked him up. I don't see how we're going to use him. Josh Kelly, wide receiver from Texas Tech. I believe he ran a 4.7 at his pro day. He's 23 years old. Short arms, not really a good route runner. This one was a complete head scratcher to me and why he was even invited to camp. We already have like 11 camp bodies at wide receiver, so it's not like we need another guy. And this one doesn't provide us anything that we don't already have, in my opinion. He's probably the slowest receiver we have. Well, he's definitely the slowest receiver we have. He had good production in college, but nothing that really stands out. He was pretty much a big slot in college. So I would project that's what he would be in the pros. He doesn't show a lot in terms of change of direction, even though I think he's a slot receiver. You would expect a slot receiver to be great at change of direction. When you look at his 3 cone, it's pretty good. It's right at 7. And for you guys who follow the show, I always talk about how much I love the 3 cone. And if a guy runs under a 7 or under, it's usually pretty good. And he was right there. I mean, he got 1,000 yards last year, but in a Texas Tech offense, to me, 1,000 yards at Texas Tech, that's 700 yards anywhere else because they run such a wide open offense. It's easy for any receiver to get 1,000 yards in that offense to me. So I know the production on paper looks good, but you got to look at the school he's playing at. Their offense is almost like a 7-on-7 offense, where it's extremely easy for a receiver to get open if they make any effort and the quarterback likes you. So I know the production's there. I don't trust that production, to be honest. Outside of Texas Tech, he never had over 700 yards. So I think he's more of a 700-yard receiver than a 1,000-yard receiver for college. And to me, a 700-yard receiver in college who runs a 4.7 and has short arms, that's not even an NFL level prospect. So I watched a couple of his games. I watched his best games: Colorado, Cincinnati, Iowa State. That Colorado game was really good for him. But again, all they did was spread them wide and run slants. That's pretty much all he did, slants and comebacks. Um, he was able to make some good plays, but I don't see why they brought him here. I don't see how he touches the field in a preseason game because the level of talent we have at wide receiver is just so deep right now. I know we're not going to see Lamb. I know we're not going to see Pickens. We probably won't see Turpin in the preseason, but we still got Tolbert. We still got Mingo. We still got Flournoy. We still got the kid from South Carolina. We still got Jalen Cropper. So we have a minimum of 5 receivers to me that have already had a year of experience. They're probably younger than him because he's almost 24. They're faster and they know how to play the game. So I don't even think he's a camp body, Chris Lester. And by the way, looks like a new name. Thank you for watching. Thank you for subscribing. I don't even see camp body from this kid. At best, the wide receiver coach or Schottenheimer owed somebody a favor and they gave this guy a chance. That's what I see. Because I do not see a guy who deserves to be in an NFL training camp running a 4.7 with short arms at 6'1". Now, I may have to come back 4 months from now and eat those words, but right now, I'm pretty confident that this kid has no shot of making this team. Sean McCants says, looks like another new name. Sean McCants, thank you for watching. Says might be a special teams player. It's a possibility. That's a good point because when you look at a team, and I talk about this quite a bit for you guys who watch the show often, when you look at special teams, every skill position has to have a special teams contributor and not a return. I mean, a real special teams guy. So when I look at the roster right now, Lamb's not on special teams. Pickens is not on special teams. Tolbert's not on special teams. And Turpin's on special teams as a returner. So that's your top 4 guys. I don't think Mingo played special teams last year. I don't know if he doesn't, he can't, or they just didn't want him to. But that's the 5th guy. So as of right now, your top 5 receivers don't play special teams. If you're keeping 6 receivers, that 6th guy has to be a special teams guy. So I do all this talk. His offensive production may not even matter because the 6th guy on the roster is going to be inactive most weeks. And if he is active, he's going to be on special teams. So good point, Christopher Lester. He may be a great special teams guy. He may be a punter, jammer, up back, personal protector, something like that. And we'll find out in camp. But if we're talking strictly from an offensive perspective, he has no shot of touching the field. Like none whatsoever. So for you guys who are in the special teams, pay attention to the personal protector on the punt team. And for you guys who don't know what position that is, thank you. Brooks is the guy I couldn't think of, Jalen Brooks. The personal protector is the guy who stands up in front of the punter. That is a very important position on special teams. Also pay attention to the guys at the wings on the edge of punt. Gunners, the gunner and jammer positions are already decided. So you don't have to watch those. Personal protector, the wings, and the guys on the outside on field goal. A guy like this, he has to be in one of those positions to make this roster. DJ Dog says, my hope this year that Dallas only has 3 specialists. But unfortunately, DJ Dog, every team, you've heard of the core special teams group. Every NFL team is going to have at least 6 core special teamers. And those 6 guys are going to play all 4 special teams. So if you look at the team right now, I know for a fact that the cornerback that always makes the roster, and I'm sorry, I just went blank on his name. The cornerback that always makes the roster is going to be one core special teamer. Marquise Bell is the second core special teamer. Last year was Leofow. He's probably going to be a little bit more active on defense, so you may have to replace him. Brevin Spann-Ford was the third core special teamer. So that's off the top of my head. Goodwin, yeah. So Goodwin, Bell, and Brevin Spann-Ford are the three core special teamers I know are coming back on the roster. There are at least 3 to 4 more spots that need to be filled, and I think a couple of these guys will fill them. I think the linebacker we drafted in the 5th round will probably end up being a core special teamer because I don't see any reason why we drafted him, Shamar James, because again, I watched him play, super intelligent, and I'm going back to my draftee notes. Shamar James, super intelligent, field general, plays with good physicality, but he's terrible in the box as a linebacker. So I just talked about it with Josh Kelly. I don't see how he makes the team. I think kind of the same thing goes with Shamar James on defense, but I know he's a special teamer because he played special teams in college. I don't know if Josh Kelly plays special teams. I'm probably going to have to go back and watch a game to see if he played any special teams, but as of right now, I just don't see it. Sean McCants. I'm pretty sure they brought him in because he was going to be needed. Maybe he was a good blocker or something. Somebody saw something in him. Yeah, somebody had to see something, or somebody owes somebody a favor. Those are my two options for him. DJ Dog saying I want Goodwin to work for his spot. All those players you listed can play in a position except for Goodwin. That's true, but Goodwin is such a good special teams player, though. I mean, he leads the team in special teams tackles every year. That's a major statistic that doesn't get the credit that is due. He's a super smart guy. He's always going to make at least 2 or 3 extremely smart special teams plays every year. Doesn't sound like a lot, but over the course of a season, those 2 or 3 special teams plays that Goodwin makes can be the difference in the game or field position in some situations. So it doesn't bother me as much that Goodwin doesn't play defense because he's such a great special teamer, especially at that gunner and jammer position, which, in my opinion, are 2 of the 3 most important special teams positions there are on the team. All right, I see those views are still going up on X. So thank you guys who are joining us on X. Appreciate you tuning in. If you get a chance for you guys at X, go to Bluff City Cowboys on YouTube, hit that subscribe button. And one night, hopefully you guys will watch the show from X. Watch the show from YouTube or watch from Facebook so that I can hear you guys' thoughts on some of the things we're talking about. Because I really enjoy discussing Cowboys football with the fan base. All right, so we're at 39 minutes. We're at the halfway point of my list. We still have 4 more players to talk about. And to be honest, I think we have 5 more. I'm sorry, not 4, 5 more. I think the top 3 on this list are going to make the team. So let's go ahead and get back into it. So we just talked about Joshua Kelly. Now we go back to another big time school in Syracuse, and we're going to talk about Justin Barron. Now, Justin Barron is an interesting prospect. He's kind of a hybrid guy. He's 6'4", he's 215, 220-ish. He has the movement skills of a safety, but he has the tackling ability of a linebacker. When I look at him, he's a tweener in the NFL. You see the C on his chest. So he's one of those guys who can be a field general for you. He's a very good tackler. He's versatile, like I said. When I watched him play last year, he was playing strong safety, he was playing wheel linebacker, he was lining up in the nickel. He was all over the field, and he rarely got beat, no matter what position he played. He's a smart player. Again, you can look at the film and play. He's directing traffic. He's pointing to guys. He's calling stuff out. You can see him being a leader on the field. He obviously has the C on his chest, so you know that he was one of their team leaders on defense. He has long arms again. I mean, you can look at the tape right here. You can look at the shot of him right here. See his arms are extremely long for 6'4". He's a bit of a freak athlete. He's a 4.5 guy, which is really good for a linebacker. It's good enough for a safety, but when you factor in that he's 6'4", that really speaks well to his athleticism. Because of his size and his long arms, he's really good at covering tight ends, and he can even do a little bit of damage when he's covering receivers in the slot when they're running zone. Because of his intellect and his long arms, he's always going to be on the field. Just like Chris Lester said, he never left the field. He played 3-4 positions in any game. Now, if you guys who watched the show for a while, all this stuff I said, except for the last one, I said the same thing about Leofau last year. Leofau played nickel. He played strong safety. He played linebacker. He was a smart guy. He was an athlete. Barron doesn't play with the intensity that Leofau does. And also, because of Barron's slender frame, he gets dominated when he tries to play inside the box. So he's not going to be a guy who can be your Mike in the NFL. He may even have some struggles playing as the wheel. I think he's gonna have to be another one of our big safeties because Wanye Thomas is about the same size as him. Marquise Bell's about the same size as him. I think if he has a chance to make the roster, he's going to have to participate definitely on special teams, but he also has to play a little bit of safety for us. DJ Dog says he reminds me of Overshown. Overshown is about 15 pounds heavier than him. So I don't want to make that comparison too soon, but I definitely see where you're going, DJ Dog. Because I did just make it with Leofau, who's about 25 pounds bigger than him. But I think unless he can gain 12 pounds in 3 months, he's going to be a practice squad guy, or he has to show enough to crack that safety group because there is one opening left in that safety group in my opinion. Right now, I have him at the practice squad if he's a linebacker, which I think he's probably going to be a better linebacker than safety. So again, like Chris just said, he's going to need a season of peanut butter to get his weight up. If that's where we're going, I think he's a special team. I think he's a practice squad guy as a linebacker. But because of his athleticism and his intellect, he has a chance to be our fifth safety because he fits right there with the Wanye Thomas, Israel Mukwamu, Marquise Bell type guy. And I think he may be a better free safety than Marquise Bell right now. That's the type of talent I think he has. If I had to put him and Bell up against each other, the gap is not as wide as the fan base would think. I'll just leave it at that. That's how much I like this kid. I don't think Bell has a chance of not making the roster. So that again, that also lets you know he has a good shot of being our fifth safety. So I'm definitely watching Justin Barron in camp. For one, I want to see if they play him at linebacker or safety. And for two, if they play him at safety, I want to see how he looks in open space in the NFL. I could definitely agree with that. And we'll talk about this as we go through the position battles. There's a good chance Mukwamu doesn't make the team. And I know a lot of guys have had him as their pet cat for the past 4 years. I think he has some stiff competition with even some of these undrafted guys that we have coming up. And I think some of these guys are going to come on the field day one and be a better prospect than him. So pay attention to that. But yeah, Justin Barron, that Syracuse defense was top 20 in the NFL in college football last year. Syracuse. Him and the guy we're going to talk about in a few minutes were a very big part of that because of how well they played in their secondary. Sean McCann says we definitely going to have to get serious on the defensive side. Can't let teams put up points like they did last year. Barron and Clark are both good Syracuse pickups. Clark's from your hometown, so I'm sure you could definitely give us a lot about him. As you can see, McCants, I said I'm going based off of the likelihood of making the team. We have 4 guys left, and I haven't brought up Clark yet, so to let you know how high I am on Clark. So let's go ahead and keep the show rolling along. We're at 47 minutes. Let's go to the next person on our list. Now, this one I struggled with. Tyler Neville, tight end out of Harvard/Virginia. So, of course, you got a kid that comes from Harvard, so he's going to be extremely smart. You can look at his picture and you can have a good idea of what type of player he is. He's a smart player. He's strong for his size. He's a high motor guy. He's a high energy guy. He's a high effort guy. Everything I said screams special teams. I think when I talk about the core special teams group, I would be shocked if he doesn't make this roster as a special teams guy. If you look at his backstory, he was born deaf, had surgery as a kid to get that cleared out, had a pretty good high school career. And then around his junior year of high school, he was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma, which is a severe form of cancer. He overcame that, still got a college degree, still played 4 years at high football college level. So this kid has gone through a lot of adversity. He's come out on top. He's intense. He's smart. He says the right things. And he lets his shoulder pads and his helmet do the talking. So I like the kid a lot when I watch him play. I didn't see a lot in terms of production, but a tight end who's physical and doesn't mind blocking and shows some intellect, and he's 6'4", 250, they're gonna find a place for him if he just takes care of business. Chris Lester says great story, practice squad. Now I'm kind of torn on this one. I think he has a good chance of being our 4th tight end, just because I think he has a good chance of being a core special teamer. Like you said, I don't see a lot in terms of production, in terms of the tight end position, but he's a willing blocker. If he goes out there and blocks his ass off and makes a couple of plays on special teams, there's no chance he doesn't make the team. They can even line him up in the backfield as a fullback, H-back, and let him make some blocks because he did that a lot at Harvard. So just from a blocking perspective, this kid has a shot, but he has to show it off the ball. If we're going completely as an on-the-ball offensive guy, I agree. Very slim chance. But the backstory, the high character, the ability to overcome adversity, the ability to block, I think he has a good shot. I don't want to call him Brevin Spann Ford. I think Ford is a better overall tight end than him because he has a little bit more wiggle in his play. But if you take the route running and catching out of the equation, him and Brevin Spann-Ford are pretty much the same guy, and that's what makes me think he has a good chance of making this roster. DJ Dog definitely has a tremendous backstory. He's definitely going to be a guy that the fan base roots for once his story starts to get out there and you start to see him in camp and he's always up. He's going to get in guys' faces. He's going to be animated when he makes a play. I think he's going to catch people's attention quick, and people are really going to start rooting for him. And if you take it off the field, you guys know Jerry loves a good story. And there are very few, if any, rookie stories better than Tyler Neville. So just pay attention to that. This guy is not going to be judged based off his ability to run a route to make this team. Sean McCants. This was by far the best offseason draft and pickups we have seen in 2 decades. I really like this type of energy for us as fans. That's great. I would add to that in the past 2 decades, we haven't seen a group of guys drafted or signed as free agents that fit what the scheme calls for. Normally, just like Bill Parcells said 15 years ago, and it's still been applicable up until now, they want our guys to make the dinner, but they don't want to let them buy the groceries. So we used to have a lot of guys who were square peg, round hole type guys, guys who were on their last leg, guys that were a big name that Jerry's trying to milk a little bit out of them and get a couple extra jersey sales. This year, they have a plan in place. You can look at everybody they got. They're going to be smart. If you look at the descriptions I've made, and I didn't do this on purpose. This is about what I saw on film. You're going to see some things that always stand out. And at the top of every one of them, you're going to see high intellect or smart. So they're bringing in smart guys. They're bringing in intense guys. They're bringing in guys who want to compete. So that's definitely been a great thing for this offseason. Chris Lester says Ferguson, Spann-Ford, Schoonmaker, and the Auburn kid. When you say the Auburn kid, do you mean the Auburn kid from last year, or do you mean the undrafted kid from this year? Let me know which one you're talking about, because I think I know who you're talking about, but just let me know. So if you're talking about the kid from Auburn this year, I don't think he has a shot of making the roster because he can't block. But if you're talking about the kid from last year, I think they got hurt. We'll see. Let me see, and let me know his name. The undrafted from this year. Okay. We're going to have to agree to disagree on that one, Chris. I don't see Rivaldo Fairweather having a shot of making his team. He's raw. He cannot block. He's not a good route runner. He's just a guy with long arms. And to me, that's pretty much it. I think, like I said before, if I'm looking at from a perspective of everything except the ability to run routes, this kid has everything you're looking for. So if it's down to him or Rivaldo, I think Tyler Neville blows him out of the water. That's just me. I could be wrong, but that's what I see. DJ Dog brings up a great point. They're trying to implement a run scheme that's going to be physical. And if you're trying to implement a run scheme with a lot of 12 personnel with 2 tight ends that can block, Tyler Neville's one of your guys that you want out there with that second unit. So I just want you guys to pay attention to that. Don't watch him route running. He may not have a catch the whole offseason, but watch the blocking. Watch when you see that running back hit the C gap. When you watch Jaden Blue with that second unit or that third unit, when he hits that C gap, let's see if Tyler Neville's there blocking for him and if he does a good job. That's how he makes this team. All right, guys. So we are at 55 minutes. We have 3 players left. Now, when we got to these 3 players, it was tough to rank them. because to me, all of them are extremely talented. All of them should have been drafted, in my opinion. It's a shock that all three of these guys were undrafted free agents. Um, they all have the college production to back up the stats. They all have the traits to back up the college stats. I think we got three guys who I won't even be surprised if one of these three guys is a starter this year. That's how much faith I have in them. At a minimum, one of these guys is going to be a rotational guy. But I wouldn't be shocked if one of them becomes a potential starter or the first guy off the bench. Now, I've been kind of going back and forth with my rankings on these three, but I'm just going to stick with what I got right now. I'm not going to think about it, overthink it, because we haven't done training camp yet. So I'm going to stick with what I came up with last night, and we're going to roll with that. Uh, Chris Lester says, if we don't pay the tight end, who replaces Ferguson next year? Uh, Schoonmaker showed us flashes last year while Ferguson was out. So I would expect him in year 3. I know the fans hate him, but I want you guys to think about what you thought about Dalton Schultz before he broke out in year 3. What did you think about Blake Jarwin before he broke out in year 3? Just remember that. Tight ends take a little bit of time. Schoonmaker could be one of those guys that takes 3 years to break out. So I'm not throwing in the towel on him yet. And Brevin Spann-Ford showed me a lot last year as an undrafted free agent. From beginning of the year to end of the year, you can definitely see a lot of growth. I expect him to build on that this year. And then going back to what DJ Dog said, Clayton Adams and Connor Riley, our offensive coordinator and our running game coordinator, they're going to put in a physical run game. And I think Brevin Spann-Ford is going to be a big part of that because he's by far our best run blocking tight end. So I would expect to see him being a lot more active. And when you have Lamb and Pickens, there's not a lot of balls to go around in terms of targets. So we're not going to need our tight end to be as productive as we've needed in years past, where years prior, we may have expected our tight end to give us minimum 800 receiving yards. Because I think Pickens and Lamb are going to be so productive, and then we're going to emphasize getting the ball to the running backs out of the backfield. I think if you have a tight end that can get you 500, 550 yards, but they can block their ass off, I think that's going to be enough. And I feel like a Brevin Spann-Ford or a Schoonmaker, they're good enough to give you that type of production. So while I know Ferguson's probably the most talented and can give you the most production, I think the way this offense is headed, it won't be as much of a necessity for the tight end as it's been in the past. So you bring up a great point. Dak does love to work the middle of the field. In this scheme, the running back gets used a lot, more than we've seen since Zeke's rookie year. And we remember how Dak loved throwing the ball to Zeke on those flare passes and those screens his rookie year. I think we're going to see a lot more of that than we are using the tight end. And plus, again, we've got George Pickens, who's probably going to get about 115 targets this year, when last year our number 2 receiver only had 81 targets. So that's 30 more targets that have to be pulled from somewhere. And I think they're going to get pulled from the tight end. So even though Ferguson might be the best option, I don't think we're going to need him as much moving forward. All right, so let's go back to the list. We're going to my top 3. And again, I have these ranked from least likely to make the roster to most likely. And man, this is tough. So number 3 on the list is safety Elijah Clark. And it's hard to put him right here because I absolutely love him as a player. I just talked about the other safety, Justin Barron from Syracuse. Elijah Clark played outside corner, nickel corner, free safety, strong safety. He played the star position. He played a little bit of wheel linebacker, even at 205. This kid played every position. He's extremely intelligent. He's the type of guy he can be a split safety where he can split between free and strong pretty much interchangeably. So if you want to bring him down the box, he can do that. And on the next play, if you want to have him covering deep, he can do that just as well. He's one of those vocal leaders that you talk about. So again, you see a guy pointing, you see him running from the secondary, coming down to get in the linebacker's ear, and then run back. That's the type of leader he is. So he knows every position on the field. Again, I just said he's extremely versatile, super smart guy, great tackler. He could probably play nickel if you needed him to, but I think he's a much better free slash strong safety type guy. One thing I did notice, he doesn't have the best hands. Got a bit of butterfingers when it comes to catching the ball. I think this defense is going to be built on turnovers, and when I look at him, he's not the best. He played 44 college games. That's basically 3.5 full seasons of NCAA starting, and he only has 2 interceptions and 9 pass breakups. There are some guys who get that production on one season. He has 4. But yeah, the hands are the problem. The hands are the problem. But if you want a smart guy who can go back there and learn the playbook, he can play multiple positions. This is the guy you want. Um, if it comes down to him and Barron at that safety spot, I'm probably going Clark just because of his versatility and the intellect. He'll be in the right position. I'm not guaranteed that he's gonna make the play if he can. And he's a great tackler as well. He's only 21 years old. He came into college early. He's a 4.5 runner, so he's fast enough. He's just under 200 pounds. But as a safety coming into the league, he's big enough. He'll definitely get over 200 pounds by next year. This is the type of guy that he may show you enough that he's too good to cut. Because once we get to the end of training camp, some of these guys are just going to be too good to let walk away because somebody else is going to see the talent and they're going to use it. I think that's what we have in Elijah Clark. It's going to be a tough battle at that safety spot. And outside of the hands, I mean, he's probably a 4th round talent guy if he had more turnovers. And again, a lot of that could come from the fact that he played all over the field and he couldn't get comfortable at one position. That could be it. You put him in one position and let him stick there, he may turn into something special. But it's the hands for me. Yeah. All right. So number 2, and again, it's a coin flip. I think both of these guys definitely make the roster. But number 2, Trayshawn Holden, wide receiver. Man, do I love this kid when I watch him play. I hate to make the CeeDee Lamb comparisons, but I just ask you guys. I watch Michigan, I watch Washington, I watch Ohio State. I don't want to call him CD, but CD coming out of college, if CD coming out of college is a 10, this kid is about a 7.5. I don't know how he didn't get drafted. Everything you want from a wide receiver in terms of a big slot, he gives it to you. He plays physical at the line of scrimmage. When he gets the ball in his hands, he's explosive. I believe he ran a 4.55 in the 40. He does not look like it on tape. This is one of those guys. I talked about the first guy, Mike Smith. Mike Smith ran a 4.4. I mean, Bruce Harmon, my mistake. Bruce Harmon ran a 4.4 at his pro day, but he does not look like a 4.4 on tape. This kid is the opposite. He ran a mid 4.5, but when you watch him play, you don't see 4.5 on the game film. He has a great feel for space. So in college, he played inside, outside. He was one of those guys. Oregon likes to move their receivers around the field, so he played everywhere. Wherever they put him at, he was always able to find the soft spot in the zone, or he was able to maneuver himself to get separation from the cornerback, make a play on the ball, and get upfield. I mean, every time you watch him make a play, that's what you're going to see consistently. Let me see. How many catches did he have in college? Because you guys, to watch him, you don't have to watch a lot of games to see what he does well. Try to go to his stats in college. But yeah, he started off with Alabama, so that lets you know the type of talent that he had coming out of college. This was back when Alabama was loaded, so he couldn't get on the field. He got in some trouble off the field, had to go to Oregon. Went there, got in the doghouse a little bit as well, but the production was just too good to keep off the field. So we look at Oregon. The stats weren't really there because, again, off the field, he kind of stayed in the doghouse quite a bit. So he didn't get a lot of chances to really play consistently. But the games that he played, oh, he flashes. He flashes every game he played. He's a big slot. Again, not CD Lamb now. CD Lamb coming out of college. If Lamb was a 10, this kid was a 7.5. He's not that far off. You can see the traits there. And you guys have heard the interviews saying he's coming for heads, like DJ Dog said. That's how he plays on the field. He's going to go out there. He's going to compete. If we have any corners and we're trying to figure out, are they really about that life? Trayshawn Holden's going to let you know whether the backup corners we got are ready for the NFL because he's going after them. He's a very willing blocker, another thing that'll get him on his team, and he plays with a lot of attitude. So he's going to make some great catches. You're going to see him make a couple of highlight catches, get up and get crunk with the group. Hopefully, CD rubs off on him more than Pickens because I can see those three instantly creating a bond. And Tolbert might be the guy that gets left out because they all have that same body style and that same physical mentality. So I wouldn't be shocked if by week, I won't say coming out of training camp because I don't want to disrespect Tolbert, but I wouldn't be shocked by week 5, week 6. Well, back up. I think he's definitely making the roster. But I wouldn't be shocked by week 5, week 6 of the season that we don't see Trayshawn Holden playing 25, 30% of the offensive snaps. And we get some Holden, Lamb, Pickens, wide receiver personnel groupings out there. I'm really high on this kid. And I think he's going to have a chance to produce. My only concern with him are can he keep the emotions in check? Number one. Number two, can he stay out of trouble? And number three, I'm trying to think of the best way to put this. I guess in the wide receiver rooms, can he keep his composure? Because Tolbert's kind of the next guy off the bench. And then you got Mingo there. Can he overcome the adversity of the offensive coordinator and the head coach trying to push Mingo and Tolbert over him, even if he's the better player? So those are my three concerns with him. Because as an undrafted rookie who did not get a big signing bonus, he's already going to come in feeling like they don't want me or they're out to get me. Can he keep his head focused enough to stay in the game and say, you know what? I got to keep letting my play do the talking, regardless of how they try to put lesser guys in front of me, because they're going to do it. They have to give Mingo an opportunity. Jalen Tolbert has earned the right to be the first guy off the bench. Uh, Sean McCann says, I don't know why he didn't get drafted. That was crazy. They left him off the board. I think it was the off the field stuff, Sean McCann. If you go back and kind of read his history, he stayed in the doghouse a lot in college, at Alabama, even at Oregon. So I think that he didn't get a lot of glowing reviews from his coaches in college. But luckily, we have Junior Adams here, who was one of his wide receiver coaches at Oregon. So Junior Adams knows him well. He knows the athleticism and he knows the talent. So I think that's why he got a shot here. If you look at the fact that he came to Dallas and he didn't get a signing bonus, the fact that he's here and he didn't get a signing bonus, that lets me know he did not have a lot of options coming out of college. Because you would think that a guy who's undrafted and he's basically coming to the NFL with no money in his pockets, he would be more likely to take the bigger signing bonus from another team. The fact that he took almost zero signing bonus here means that he had almost zero signing bonus on the table anywhere else. So he has to make it work here. And I think that hunger also works in our favor. Sean McCann said, I would let Tolbert go. That's my opinion. Tolbert's a better player than you give him credit for, McCann. I would probably try to find a way to get rid of Mingo, because I think Mingo is the same athlete that Holden is, but Mingo doesn't have Holden's mentality or route running ability. I see we got Jack Mika joining us again. Long time viewer, thank you for tuning in. This would definitely be a huge deal if he pans our bid. And I think we got to watch him. Not training camp, which I think he could, but week 5, week 6, pay attention to see if Trayshawn Holden is touching the field. DJ Dog says we'll be interested to see if Dallas uses tight bunch packages like Arizona did to help the running game. Need wide receivers who can block to make that work. If you listen to what Brian Schottenheimer said in the offseason, he talked a lot about bringing in the split. So we're not going to have wide receivers as wide to the boundaries as much. So you probably will see a lot more tight packages from the wide receiver group. So I think that also works in his favor as well. That's a great point, DJ Dog. And he definitely has that run after catch ability. I'm telling you, when you watch him play, I see a lot of CeeDee Lamb in Oklahoma. And he has that mentality already. All right, so we've gone through 8. I don't know if you guys are keeping up. We have one guy left. And again, between Clark, Holden, and this guy, I could have gone in any order. But I got Zion Childress at the top of my list. The tiebreaker for me was the signing bonus. The Cowboys paid him a high signing bonus. So to me, that means that they want him here as well. When I watch him play, the talent jumps off the field. Again, we're gonna keep saying this. Extremely intelligent, willing tackler, versatile player. Zion Childress, he's just as good at safety as he is at nickelback. I think he has a good shot of making this team as a nickel corner. I see a lot of uh, I'm trying to think of the cornerback I could see. I'll come back to that. But when I watch him play, he is another guy. You can see the leadership on the field. Um, he was a two-time team captain at Kentucky. So that means the guys really respect him. He makes plays on the ball. So unlike Elijah Clark, he's able to create turnovers. He's a very good tackler. He's really good in the zone, which I think we're going to be running a lot of cover two zone. I think that's where he really excels at. Um, Almost 200 pounds. He plays with a lot of strength. He made a ton of tackles as a cornerback. He averaged about 75 tackles a year. And this is a corner. 75 tackles per year as a corner, 12 tackles for loss. So this is a guy who's getting active at the cornerback and the safety position. He had 6 quarterback hurries as a cornerback. 6 quarterback hurries. The kid played all over the field. Extremely talented guy, super smart, proven leader. Um, the athleticism leaves a lot to be desired, but I mean, he makes up for it with the intellect. Again, he's one of those guys where on tape it may say 4.55, 4.6, but because he plays so smart, it looks like 4.4 on tape. Um, I would be concerned a little bit about him at nickel because of the limited athleticism, but I think he's so smart that he's gonna pick up some tips to help him if he plays inside. Um, if he decides to stay at safety, Malik Hooker's gonna have some serious competition. That's how good I think this kid is. I would pencil him in right now as the backup safety. Really good player, and I'm not exaggerating. Um, if they put him in that nickelback room, I don't know who's in the nickelback room right now, but whoever is there, they should be concerned. To be honest, when I look at the roster right now, I don't see another true nickel corner on this team. So for that reason, just out of default, he may be able to come in and be the backup nickel corner behind who would you guys say is the nickel corner right now? Deron Bland. So I would say just from a talent standpoint, he's probably gonna be your backup nickel corner going into camp behind Deron Bland. So the pathway is wide open for him. I think he's gonna be at worst your number 2 guy at nickel and or free safety, whichever one they decide to put him at. Super smart, super athletic. They gave him a lot of guarantees, so that pretty much tells you he's gonna stick around. Um, Great tackler, doesn't mind hitting running backs out of the backfield. He's gonna make a lot of splash plays to make his presence known when we start getting to games. And if you look at the games that I watched, Georgia, Ole Miss, Tennessee, South Carolina, all four of these teams were either playoff teams or borderline playoff teams. And he excelled in every one of these games. Like, he was at worst the second best player on the field. At worst, I'll say third best player on the field. And this is on the field with some teams that had several first and second round picks, particularly Georgia and Ole Miss on the defensive side of the ball. So this kid has talent. Again, I have no clue why this kid went undrafted. When I watch him play, when I watch the athleticism, when I watch the leadership, I have no clue. He doesn't have an injury history. So I don't know why he went undrafted, but I think it's thank goodness that he was undrafted and we were able to pick him up. Yeah, always getting active. And again, this is another one of those guys, like I said, played a lot of positions. Just imagine when he goes to the NFL level and they decide to put him at one spot, how much better he could possibly be. So the sky's the limit for Zion Childress. I think he's going to be one of those undrafted guys that we talk about by the end of training camp and we look and say, I think we just found another one. He's that good. DJ Dog asked, is Damone Clark's job in jeopardy with Barron and Childress? I think Clark's job has been in jeopardy since we signed the linebacker from Chicago, the backup. Because right now, we got Murray, we got Leofow, we got the linebacker from Chicago. Heck, I think the linebacker we got as an undrafted guy last year is probably going to make some noise this year. And then you throw in Barron. Yeah, I think Clark is in trouble. He's not athletic enough to play Will. He's not, I don't want to say he's not mentally capable, but he hasn't shown to be mentally capable enough to be a Mike. We have no use for Sam. He doesn't cover well. I mean, Damone Clark's job is in jeopardy because of Damone Clark. Adding Barron and any of these other guys is just icing on the cake of why he won't make the roster. And he doesn't play a lot of special teams either. And as a linebacker, you have to play special teams. Mark Anthony 293. That was a theme in the players that got drafted in undrafted free agency. Most are great leaders. Most are highly intelligent. People underestimate how far they could take you as a team. Absolutely. I mean, if you look at how we're drafting, to me, this is a old Pittsburgh Steelers type draft this year. People may not like some of the picks, but one thing you won't say we didn't get guys who are leaders. You won't say we didn't get guys who are smart. You didn't say we didn't get guys who are versatile. This is the type of draft, undrafted and drafted, where you can build a rotation of guys who can come in and allow some of your starters to stay fresh, which is going to make them better at the end of the game. Because a lot of problems that we had in the past was we had a heavy rotation, but the backups weren't pulling their weight. So you have DeMarcus Lawrence at the end of the game who can't rush the passer, and you're trying to slide him inside, and the guy that's on the end can't do anything, and we're relying on Micah to make something happen. This year, we have Donovan Ezraku and Marshawn Nealon who are going to rotate. Last year, we had to pray that Andrew Booth didn't get torched whenever he touched the field. This year, we got guys like Zion Childress and Siobhan Revel and Elijah Clark, who I think are going to come in and be technically sound and show some intellect to not give up big plays. Last year, when Lamb got triple teamed, we had no help for him. This year, we got guys, well, we brought in Pickens, of course, but we got guys like a Trayshawn Holden. If they're starting to key on Lamb in the slot, maybe we could throw him at the Z now. Put Holden in the slot. Let Holden make some plays because he can. So, like you said, Mark Anthony, yeah, we got a lot. We got a lot of good stuff to look at. Ray Dean says we sign our kicker. He needs to get paid. Unfortunately, our kicker probably won't get signed this year. He's a exclusive rights free agent, if I'm not mistaken, which basically means he has to sign the contract that's given to him, or he can't play football. It's unfortunate for him because he was essentially an undrafted guy who didn't get to play his first year. Well, he did get to play his first year, but he was an undrafted guy late. So next year he's going to be a restricted free agent, which means the Cowboys can put a first round tag on him, and if a team wants to sign him, they have to give us a first round pick. So because of those two reasons, who was that asked the question about the kicker? Yeah, Ray Dean. Because of those two reasons, Ray Dean, I would be shocked if our kicker signs a contract within the next 3 years. He's definitely not signing one this year. He's probably not signing one next year. And if we don't need the franchise tag in year 3 for a guy like Tyler Smith, or who else is coming up on the contract? If we don't need the franchise tag for Tyler Smith or Marshawn Nealon or Leofau in 3 years, he's probably getting franchise tag because the franchise tag is dirt cheap. So good news is, don't worry about Brandon Aubrey for the next 3 years. He's going to be here. The bad news is he's probably going to be here without signing a contract. So it's going to be 3 off seasons of when will Brandon Aubrey get signed. Unfortunately, I don't think it's going to happen at a minimum for 2 years. DJ Dog asking about Kalen Carson as the backup slot. Well, he's coming off injury right now, so we haven't seen him yet. I would assume he would be the next guy at slot. But if you look at our corners right now, I want no parts of Andrew Booth. I love Kyer Elam as a talent, but I still have questions about him as an outside guy. I think Carson can be a decent outside guy in his second year now that he's kind of seen some things from last year. So he's probably going to be the backup slot, but it's more than likely he's going to play some outside once he gets here. Johnny Valencia. So I just went through the list, Johnny. I went to my lowest guy to my highest guy. So my highest guy right now is Zion Childress. But if you wanted to put Trayshawn Holden or Elijah Clark at number 1, I wouldn't argue with it. I just like Childress because I think he's a really, really talented player, and he plays a position that I think he can contribute at the quickest than those other guys. Yeah. South Carolina had a lot of talent last year. They were a very talented team. I think they finished the year at number 13 or 14. So that's a testament to the level of talent that they had. Mark Anthony says there is talk that the Cowboys will cut Wilson after June 1st. It'll save a good bit of cap. They may risk losing him. So I'll be honest, Mark Anthony. I don't see why Donovan Wilson's still on the team. If you look at Matt Eberflus's defensive scheme, he likes to run a heavy zone cover 2, which means you need a safety who's good in space and can cover the middle of the field. Donovan Wilson is not either one of those. Donovan Wilson is a thumper. So if you're playing cover 3, cover 1, and you need your safety inside of 15 yards, Donovan Wilson's your guy. But if they run the scheme that I think they're gonna run, where the safety is gonna be playing at 15 yards and deeper, Donovan Wilson's not the guy you want back there. And I think Donovan Wilson may be our third highest paid defensive player right now. So a guy who doesn't fit your scheme, doesn't put up a lot of stats, and is your third highest player, I'm shocked he hasn't already been cut. I wouldn't be shocked if he was cut after June 1 because we do still have Wanye Thomas. We still have Marquise Bell. We just brought in Justin Barron, who I think can compete at strong safety. We just brought in Elijah Clark, who I think can compete at strong safety. And if needed, Zion Childress could compete at strong safety. So we have a lot of young talent who can get back there and compete. And then there's also guys who are still available in free agency who could come in and probably be a day one starter. So I wouldn't be shocked if Donovan Wilson doesn't make it out of camp either. So just pay attention to that one. Yeah, like you just said, him and Thomas would be crazy. And thank you, DJ Dog. Jack Sanborn is the linebacker from Chicago. And I talked about core special teamers earlier. Sanborn was a core special teamer for Eberflus in Chicago. I think he's going to come here and do the same thing. So I think he's going to be one of your special teams guys. And I also think he's going to be a 30-40% linebacker as well. So you're going to get a lot out of him. And Buddy Johnson from A&M was the undrafted free agent from last year. There was another one. I can't think of his name. Let me check out the Cowboys practice squad from last year. He was the guy who had the interception in preseason last year. I know you guys could probably think of his name before I can find it. But I'm about to look it up right now. He was a linebacker. I think his last name started with an M, if I'm not mistaken. Let me know if you guys can find it before I do. But I think he showed a lot last year in preseason. He came in and he was a smart kid. And I think a second year, Brock Mogensen, that's the guy I'm thinking about. I think Brock Mogensen is going to come in and he's going to compete for that fifth, sixth linebacker spot on this team. And I think he has a good shot of getting it. All right. Mark Anthony says the front office bringing speed back to the building. Yeah, they're definitely bringing in a lot of athleticism when it comes to the secondary. That's a great thing to see. DJ Dog saying Pickens helps Tolbert to a natural third to fourth receiver. I agree with that. Same goes with Turpin and Mingo. Yeah, definitely agree with that. That's exactly where Tolbert needs to go. The good thing about Tolbert is, and I know fans hate to give him credit because they've already made their mind that he's a terrible player. Every year he's played, his stats have gotten better and better. Year 1, he didn't touch the field. Year 2, he had 500 yards. Year 3, he had 700 yards. If he continues that progression, and now he's your third option instead of your second option, he should be an 800 to 900 yard receiver this year with 7 or 8 touchdowns. If the progression keeps going up. So I think this is going to help Tolbert more than Lamb, bringing in a guy like a George Pickens. And people forget, if you got the chance, go back and watch some of Tolbert's college tape at was it Southern Alabama. He was explosive coming off the line of scrimmage. He was built to be a Z receiver, but unfortunately, we had to play him at the X because we didn't have anybody else there. Sanborn is your green dot starter. I think Leofow may have something to say about that, but I don't have enough of an argument to fight you on it because I do like Sanborn as a player, Christopher Lester. Lester says Clark and Barron. We'll see. We'll see about that. You asked the question, why don't I like Mingo? It's not that I don't like Mingo. I've watched him play. And yeah, I go to your comment next, DJ Dog. It's not that I don't like Mingo. The problem is I've watched him play. I grew up 20 minutes from Ole Miss, so any player that goes to Ole Miss, I followed their careers intensely. I've watched every snap they played. So if you want somebody to tell you about an Ole Miss player, I'm one of the first people you should probably go to. And I watched Mingo in college. When they brought him in, they thought he could be AJ Brown, and he was nowhere near that. He's a traits guy. If you are looking for 6'2", 220, 4'4", along the lines of AJ Brown, DK Metcalf, Trey Harris this year, that's what Ole Miss produces. Mingo is along the lines of those guys in terms of athletic traits. When it comes to production, Mingo can't run routes. Um, Even though he runs a 4.4, he has a problem creating separation. He doesn't track the ball well in the air. And when you're 6'2" and run a 4.4, you expect that guy to be a big play guy. When I watched him in college, most of his plays came off of hitches and slants. So he can catch a slant and run it in college. He did not show that ability at Carolina. The limited snaps he got in Dallas, he did not show that ability. So I'm not hating on him. I'm just going by what I've seen from him since I've watched him in college. He was the type of guy. He was supposed to be a big play guy. Never really had over 15 yards a catch in college. He barely cracked the 800-yard mark. Barely cracked 50 receptions in college. And he was supposed to be your number one guy. He just didn't show it in college. And in Carolina last year, and I know people want to use the excuse where they had bad quarterback play. Bad quarterback play does not explain the fact that 2 rookie wide receivers passed him up on the depth chart. He was your second round pick in 2023. In 2024, 2 rookies overshadowed him. That's not good. You can't say the team didn't like him. They used a second round pick on him. They're going off production. And the production showed that Mingo wasn't up to par. And then he comes here last year and does basically nothing for 7 weeks. So I hope he does well. I'm not one of those fans who has a player they don't like, and then I hope that player doesn't do well so that I can be right. I hope any Cowboys player proves me wrong. Because if they prove me wrong, that means they're contributing to the team and they're making us better. So I would be glad to come on the show week 7, week 8 and say, I was wrong about Mingo. He's our third best receiver. But from what I've seen since his freshman year of college, I highly doubt we're gonna have that conversation. Yeah, Tober was that way of South Alabama. You guys need to go back and watch South Alabama because he was that dude. Christopher Lester saying he's Treadwell. I would say Treadwell was bad in the NFL. Ooh, Treadwell was bad in the NFL. I don't know if I want to call him Treadwell bad because Treadwell was actually good at Ole Miss. His problem was he was slow and he couldn't do what he did in college to gain separation in the pros. So I don't know if I would call him Treadwell because Treadwell was actually better than him in college. But if we're going based off of NFL production, he probably was pretty close to Treadwell. But in college, Treadwell was a much better player. Much, much better. DJ Dog says Mingo has the size to make a position change, maybe running back. Yeah. You know what? Great point that you bring up, DJ Dog. I think Cordero Patterson is a great comparison for Mingo. And if you guys remember, Cordero Patterson did convert into a running back his last 4 years in NFL, maybe 5 years. I think he started off his first 5 years as a receiver and the last 5 as a running back. They're about the same height, weight, about the same speed. Um, Patterson was a great returner. Mingo couldn't give you that. He can't give you that. But yeah, if he converted to running back in the next 3 years, I wouldn't be surprised. And actually, when you look at the scheme that we're putting in place, if he's around in 2 years, I wouldn't be shocked to see Schottenheimer saying, you know what? We got a guy that's 6'2", 220 pounds, running a 4.4, who we know obviously has decent hands. Can play a wide receiver. Let's try him at running back out of the backfield and make some mismatches. So something to pay attention to in the next 2 years, DJ Dog. We could be making those Cordero Patterson comparisons in 2027. But yeah, Treadwell could not run routes. He was too slow. He couldn't create separation in the NFL. In the college, he was a great player. So DJ Dog said Treadwell and Edwards, I was wrong about these two. Now, Edwards was a pretty good player in the NFL. So I don't want to say he was awful. He suffered from injuries early in his career, but he had a decent career. Treadwell was just too slow. I'll tell you one I've been wrong about so far, and that's Traylon Burks. Oh, man, I thought Traylon Burks was going to be that dude. And he looks like he has maybe one more year in the league, and we'll never hear his name again. But, yeah, Traylon Burks is my guy that I missed on bad. And if you guys know Professor O, he still holds that one over my head to this day because Professor O's a wide receiver guy, and I made the mistake of arguing with him about how good Traylon Burks would be after the Titans traded A.J. Brown. Boy, was I wrong about that. All right, so we're at an hour, 43 minutes. The show actually went a lot longer than I expected. So thank you guys in the comments. You guys really brought it once again. I appreciate you guys joining me tonight. Another great show of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. I hope all you guys from X one day decide to join us on YouTube or Facebook so that I can get your thoughts on some of the stuff we're talking about. But if not, I hope you guys continue to keep watching. I hope you guys enjoy what you see and what you hear. And remember that we're on Thursday night tonight, but we're usually here every Wednesday at 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. Over the next 6 weeks, we're going to do a roster breakdown. So we're going to cover all 3 levels of the defense, and then we're going to cover the 3 levels of the offense along with quarterback. So we're going to go defensive line, ends and tackles, linebackers, then DBs. Then we're going to go offensive line, wide receivers, running backs, and we'll probably do running backs, tight ends, and quarterbacks together since the numbers are kind of small in those groups. So we got a lot of stuff to talk about as we go into training camp. And we probably got, I believe, 8 weeks into a training camp. So we may split that up from 6 weeks to 8 weeks just to spend a little bit more time talking about a couple of these positions because I know we got a lot of questions. We got a lot of competition, particularly at wide receiver and safety. So we may want to spend a little bit of extra time talking about those positions. But we're definitely going to do a full roster breakdown between now and training camp when it starts July, August. So make sure you guys continue to stick with us every Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the Fifth Quarter Podcast. We got a couple of guests who will be joining us this offseason. A couple of guys that you'll be familiar with if you're active on X, which I see we have quite a few fans who are. And then we'll have a couple of other guys who are very knowledgeable about the sport at certain positions. So we got a lot of great content coming up for you guys. I hope you guys continue to rock with us. Got a lot of giveaways we're going to be doing as well. We are sponsored by SeatGeek, so we will be offering some discounts on tickets because I know every dollar helps when it comes to buying Cowboys tickets. We're also going to have Amanda come back and do some giveaways in terms of jerseys and posters and other Cowboys paraphernalia. So make sure you stick with us for that. And just for your overall Cowboys talk, be sure to find me at Bluff City Cowboys. If you guys have any topics you want to discuss, send me a DM on X, Facebook. Leave it in the comments. I like to go back and read the comments. I always go back and rewatch the show because you guys bring so much content in the comments. There's always something that I miss when I'm going live, so I like to go back and see kind of what you guys are talking about. So I definitely appreciate the new viewers who joined us tonight. Christopher Lester, Mark Anthony 293. Appreciate some of my veterans who came back to join us. DJ Dog, uh, Jeff Dunnigan. Uh, I believe we had pregame sweat join us earlier in the show. Don't want to leave you out, Sean McCants. You were very active tonight, so I hope you continue to come back again because you were bringing some great comments also. So I hope to see you guys again this Wednesday, 8:30 Central Standard Time for the next episode of the Fifth Quarter Podcast. As always, I'm your host, Marcus Jones, coming to you from Memphis, Tennessee. And let's go Cowboys. I'll see you guys next week.